study on how divided Ukrainian society is. And the results show that Ukrainian society is pretty much united, and the only division within Ukrainian society mainly lies where Russian disinformation brings it into our lives and makes us believe that it's there.
As the war in Ukraine grinds on, the government there has extended martial law by another 90 days until early February. Plans have also been announced to draft an additional 160,000 people into service. There are more than 1 million citizens currently serving in the Ukrainian army. Staff shortages on the front line have led to a rise in women being drafted in as well. Dr. Elena Davlikanova is a democracy fellow at the Centre for European Policy and Analysis and joins us from Kyiv. Elena, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
It's good to speak to you. So then, this extension of martial law and general mobilisation as of November the 10th and into February next year, what do we need to understand about the current state of the Ukrainian armed forces? What does this tell us?
Ukrainian armed forces are still holding on. It is true that we are losing people, just like Russians. And as far as I know, these were the intelligence of the UK that said that Russians are losing 3 times more people than Ukrainians do. However, of course, we need to mobilize new people. There was an issue with rotation. Unfortunately, a lot of people are on front lines since the early 2022. But Ukraine understands what is at stake, and we have a very small choice between dying or fighting until we win.
Not long ago on this programme, we were hearing from one of our correspondents who was reporting on the men in Ukraine who are frankly hiding because they're worried that they're going to be lifted off the streets from queues for nightclubs or restaurants or whatever because they've not signed up. Is there a difficulty in actually recruiting people at this point?
Well, war is a matter of life and death, and it is very understandable that not very many people, or not all people, are ready to put their lives or their health at risk. And just like in Russia, yes, we do have a certain share of people who are hiding from mobilization. We do have some manipulations with conscription, with people who would like to omit conscription. However, in general, we have about 4.7 million Ukrainian conscripts who already updated their data in this application Reserve Plus that allows to have a look at what kind of military potential does Ukraine have. Of course, part of that people, they are exemptions from mobilization, but they are less than half. So in general, we have about 2 million more. This is like very least. Also, we have women who are not conscripted currently, in an obligatory way. But they are volunteers. There are a lot of women already serving in the armed forces of Ukraine and on the front line as well. And Ukrainian government still holds to its decisions to not conscript young men under the age of 25. And on the one hand, Ukrainian society is a bit tired from the war, from atrocities, from everyday deaths, from shelling that doesn't stop. But on the other hand, we do understand that there will be no good solution if Ukraine is occupied. Russia has already established a concentration camp in Ukraine back in the 20th century. We know what's going on the occupied territories of Ukraine, where significant human rights violations are constantly reported. Well, I think that we still have a potential to continue fighting.
Yeah. I do wonder as well, Elena, I wanted to ask you about, I suppose, on the subject of morale, I noted that Ukraine's prosecutor general had to resign because of a draft dodging scandal, which in fact, hundreds of officials, including prosecutors, were accused of obtaining fake disability certificates to allow them to avoid
Yeah.
military service. And that is difficult. If that is leadership and authority figures acting in this way, that is a difficult one for members of the public to abide.
Yes, it's true. Well, Ukrainian society knows all the flaws and domestic issues that we have. That's why it's good that we are fighting the internal flaws as well. We have very strong civil society and a lot of organizations that are fighting corruption. That's why this scheme was uncovered, and the very fact that it was uncovered and that these people are being punished and that the measures are taken on the highest level show that Ukraine wants to overcome the existing issues and try to make the mobilization process as transparent and as fair as possible. Though, of course, it is a very difficult situation. It is truly a very it's a life and death choice for a lot of people, and well. I don't think that it is as bad as it could have been. And recently there was an Opora, civil network Opora study on how divided Ukrainian society is. And the results show that Ukrainian society is pretty much united. And the only division within Ukrainian society mainly lies where Russian disinformation brings it into our lives and makes us believe that it's there. And coming back to mobilization and the condition of mobilization, I guess that every country where the war is raging, you will find a certain share of people who try to not end up on the front lines and people who are trying to benefit from that. And well, I guess that the very fact that we are trying to fix this is a good sign.
Elena, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. I do really appreciate your time. That's Dr. Elena Davlikanova, a democracy fellow at the Centre for European Policy. And the monetary cost of all of this is quite astonishing as well. Supporting one soldier, Ukraine spends $12,000 a year, Russia spends $83,000. And so there is some concern there about how soldiers can be resourced when they actually get to the front line. Also reports in the last kind of 24 hours as well that Russia has deployed some North Korean soldiers to various parts of the battlefield. So something very much to keep an eye on while Ukraine and the war in Ukraine and indeed around Ukraine grinds on.
Wugledar looked. Закон про примусову евакуацію дітей. То якось в моменті всі відсюди пропали. Потім тільки пацани раз розказали.
Приходили, трусились.
Да?
Це ж не Джавелін, що чехнули, воно пішло. Це ж не...
Ми ще як жили на третьому етажі, то ми їх кошмарили. Ми стояли прямо під вікнами.
Вулкс, чіп, армор.